So today we're going to deconstruct a modern romance, or, well, something like it. We're diving into a text message exchange that is so bizarre, so fascinating, it actually says a whole lot about how we all try to connect in this digital age. This is not your typical courtship. Nope, this is a performance, it's a puzzle, and it's a deep dive into the language of desire itself. And this is where our story begins, with a sentence that just lands completely out of left field. I mean, what does that even mean? This isn't just a conversation starter. It's like an invitation into a maze of surreal compliments and wild philosophical tangents. So let's try and solve this puzzle together. All right, so this whole exchange has two main players. First, you've got this incredibly verbose admirer who actually calls himself the infinite counter. His style is, well, it's a chaotic mix of intense devotion and just pure stream of consciousness absurdity. And then on the receiving end, you have Sui. She is a woman whose replies are always poised, super witty, and just elegantly analytical. Their whole dynamic is set from the very first message. Yeah, this really captures the wild energy of his first big monologue. He goes from praising her thumb to telling a story about a teacher, then he offers her his stray cat, but, and this is a key point, draws the line at sharing his food. Why? Because, and I quote, "Food is required for my intelligent body to please you." It is just a whirlwind of chaos, and it's all aimed at one single goal, expressing infinite admiration. And here is Sui's absolutely brilliant response. She doesn't shut him down, she doesn't get confused. Instead, she meets his absurdity with her own elegance. She totally embraces this counter of infinity persona that he's created for himself. By playfully engaging with his logic, she basically accepts the rules of his world and in one masterful move, establishes their entire dynamic. So this dynamic, it quickly builds into our first major theme. The conversation becomes this really fascinating exploration of a classic tension, that perceived conflict between a woman's intelligence and her physical beauty. This is such a crucial point in their exchange. He's basically admitting that in his experience, beauty often eclipses intellect. But with Sui, he's run into something totally new, a mind that is just as powerful as her appearance. And you can tell he seems genuinely stunned by this realization. Now, watch how Sui reacts here. It's fantastic. She immediately identifies and names the very paradox he's struggling with. She doesn't just acknowledge his surprise, she frames it, she defines it, and then she hands it right back to him with this confident little question. She takes complete control of the narrative, using her intellect to analyze his reaction to her intellect. It's wonderfully meta. This shows you just how deep this idea is going for him. He actually consults an AI to define the intellect versus beauty stereotype. He's actively trying to process this rare phenomenon he thinks he's found in Sui. This one little move grounds their bizarre personal exchange in a much broader and frankly pretty outdated cultural context. Okay, now let's lean right into the chaos. Because to really understand their connection, we have to deconstruct all the seemingly nonsensical stories and references he's using to communicate. This is where the language gets really weird, and also really creative. Okay, let's break down one of his most rambling stories. It's this tale about a woman at Walmart who wants to hold his cat. The price for holding the cat? She has to wash her hands with gasoline and sing a love song for Sui. Now, on the surface, it's complete nonsense, right? But when you break it down, you actually see the structure. It's an absurd little performance, a modern fable created entirely for his audience of one. And his language isn't just absurd, it's incredibly dense with pop culture. He's weaving together references to Dave Chappelle, Michael Jackson, Senorita Swift, and even Aunt Jemima. He's not just talking, he's creating this cultural collage, using all these shared touchstones to build a world of meaning that's chaotic, funny, and totally unique to him. This is just a perfect example of his signature style. A completely random, surreal non sequitur just dropped into the middle of the conversation. These moments, they aren't filler. They are the very fabric of his communication. They keep the whole thing unpredictable, and they kind of force this surreal intimacy. All of this builds to what is maybe the strangest, most elaborate metaphor in the entire exchange. He uses the dynamic of a rooster and a chicken to define his romantic intentions and, at the same time, reject modern dating norms. So he explicitly rejects being passive with this declaration. He sees other guys waiting around in what he calls bachelor pens, and he defines himself in opposition to them. He's not the rooster who waits, he's the one who pursues. It's a primal, almost aggressive stance on courtship. And here's where it gets absolutely wild. He actually researches what happens to passive roosters. He consults an AI and learns that they're considered useless, dead weight, and they end up getting culled or in a gene dead pool. The man is literally using evolutionary biology, or at least a quick AI search of it, to justify how intense his pursuit is. The stakes for him are existential. And here is the payoff. After all that bizarre research, he delivers this line. He's framing his admiration for Sui not just as a preference, but as a biological imperative. She is the swiftest chick, and his job as a rooster is to crow for her to infinity, so he can avoid becoming dead weight. I'm pretty sure it's one of the most strangely epic compliments I have ever read. So what happens when you put all of this together? Well, you get a digital duet. You get a performance created by the collision of two completely different communication styles. Let's actually look at them side by side. I mean, this slide really says it all. On one side, you have the counter's raw, chaotic, demanding energy. On the other, you have Sue's poised, elegant wit. It is the contrast between his aggressive demands and her cool, analytical replies that really defines their entire interaction. They are co-creating this unique reality, one absurd text at a time. Ultimately, what we've been breaking down here isn't just a chat, it's a full-on digital performance. They are both playing roles, the chaotic admirer and the elegant muse, and they're exploring attraction, intellect, and identity in a space that's somehow both deeply intimate and completely theatrical. And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. In this digital dance, what holds more truth? Is it the raw, unfiltered stream of consciousness from the admirer, or is it the carefully crafted, elegant reply from Sui? And, in our own digital lives, where do we even draw the line between performance and authenticity?